Chapter 18, Meet Up. Cue the dramatic music, because we are diving into an intriguing coffee shop rendezvous with other players of the three-body VR game. Wang walks into this cafe, expecting a crowd, only to find just 6 people waiting. Quite the contrast from the hordes of human computer soldiers. And boy, is this a motley crew. You've got your philosopher talking about the existential nature of the game, your novelist discussing the surreal universe within it, your business tycoon musing about potential financial implications, a diligent reporter furiously taking notes, and a scientist trying to rationalize the outlandish elements. They're a bit like Avengers, but the only world they're saving is in a video game. Enter Pan, the master of this digital congregation, who drops the bomb. The planet of Trisolaris, the backbone of the three-body game, exists in real life. He suggests that these wild Trisolarans are real, and they come with lightning-quick communication abilities that make your 5G network look like 2 cans connected with a string. Tan steers the conversation to the real question: how would they feel if these aliens actually landed on Earth? Some attendees are all for rolling out the red carpet for our new interstellar neighbors, seeing them as a potential upgrade from our current societal state. The others feared complete annihilation of the human race. Pan, ever the stirring spoon, turns to Wang, asking for his 2 cents. Wang, perhaps under the influence of one too many espressos, sides with the pro-Trisolaran squad, leading Pan to exclaim, "We are now comrades." Chapter 19, Three-Body Einstein, the Pendulum Monument, and the Great Rip. Our buddy Wang is back at his gaming console, diving headfirst into the digital chaos of three-body. But hold on to your popcorn, because the game world is transformed. It's as if someone got drunk on a sci-fi cocktail, featuring a gray United Nations-like building, mirrors that double as dehydratories, and a megamoon beaming down solar light. Just as Wang is catching his breath, he meets a certain violin-strumming, hairdo-defying character who bears a striking resemblance to Albert Einstein. He has an axe to grind with the universe for dismissing his theories, which he believes could have untangled the knot of the three-body problem. He continues to talk about something called the Great Rip, hinting at a catastrophic event that led to the creation of the moon, but refrains from saying more, citing its painful nature. Wang, curious as ever, attempts to enter the UN building, only to find it empty. Meanwhile, behind the building, there's a congregation around the high-tech pendulum, a tombstone to the doomed world of Trisolaris. Wang tries to offer his evolutionary algorithm to solve the problems of the Trisolaris civilization, but the crowd only laughs him off. They believe that the three-body problem has no solution because it is just endless chaos. This situation brings Wang to a feeling of dejection and despair, as if history has returned to its starting place. However, as the conversation progresses, Wang learns of the dire situation the Trisolarans are in. Their planet was once torn apart by colliding suns, and it took them 90 million years to recover. Moreover, the Trisolaran stellar system once had 12 planets, 11 of which were obliterated, with calculations predicting their home to be swallowed by a sun within a millennium. It feels as if God is gambling with their fate. The chapter concludes with the giant pendulum starting up, its movements erratic due to the moon's gravity. This sight leaves Wang pondering whether it represents the longing for order or surrender to chaos. As he is on the verge of tears, a pop-up message appears, announcing a new mission. Find a new star to call home. This is quickly followed by an ominous message saying that the game will shut down forever and skip straight to the final scene. This chapter ends on a suspenseful note, leaving us eagerly waiting for the next revelation. Chapter 20, Three-Body Expedition. In this brief but impactful chapter, Wang logs into the game again, only to find himself in a barren landscape populated by stones. Upon closer inspection, he realizes that the stones are actually human heads. All the Trisolarans have gathered in one place, looking towards the sky. Wang follows their gaze and sees what at first appears to be a constellation of stars. However, he soon realizes that he's actually looking at the Trisolaran interstellar fleet. A fellow bystander informs Wang that the fleet is embarking on a journey towards the closest star, located 4 light-years away. The entire scene is suffused with a profound silence as the Trisolarans contemplate the reality that only their descendants will learn the fate of this expedition. Then another pop-up message appears, marking the end of the game. It reads, "Three-body is over. When you have returned to the real world, if you remain true to the promise you've made, please attend the meetup of the Earth Trisolaris organization. The message informs Wang that he will receive a follow-up address in his email. The chapter ends on a note of intrigue and suspense, as the fate of the Trisolaran civilization is launched into the depths of space, and the future of the Earth Trisolaris organization hangs in the balance. Chapter 21, Rebels of Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived at the big leagues. Chapter 21, where the sci-fi madness gets a solid dose of real-world drama. At the next three-body meetup, approximately 300 attendees congregate in an abandoned chemical plant. In the center of the room, three metal spheres move randomly around each other, mimicking the three-body problem. Remember Shen Yufei from earlier in the book. She was the woman physicist who originally got Wang into the three-body game and told him to observe the cosmic microwave background radiation. Well, at the center of the chemical plant is none other than Pan Han, who without remorse says that he murdered Shen Yufei for being a traitor. An uproar ensues. Amidst the chaos, the words Adventist and Redemptionist surface. Han attempts to call for a global rebellion of three-body believers, but is interrupted by the arrival of none other than Yi Wenji, who turns out to be the commander of the Earth Trisolaris organization, known as the ETO. After leading the crowd in a ritual call and response, Yi interrogates Pan about Shen's murder. Han defends his action, arguing that Shen's potential discovery of a solution to the three-body problem would have stopped the Trisolarans from coming to Earth, which the ETO desperately wants. The Redemptionists faction of the ETO believe that humans can no longer solve their own problems or control their inventions. They invite the Trisolarans to Earth to redeem society. He outlines the ETO's grand plan. They're sending out an SOS to the Trisolarans to invite them to Earth in order to help save human society. The Adventists faction of the ETO also wants the Trisolarans to come to Earth, but for a very different reason. An Israeli man in the crowd narrates his tragic past, recounting how his futile attempt to pacify the Israeli-Palestinian conflict led to his conviction that humanity is inherently evil and must be eradicated entirely. The core belief of the Adventists. He reveals that this faction was started by Mike Evans and that they've established a second Red Coast base where they've been secretly communicating with the Trisolarans. He rebukes Pan for killing Shen Yufei out of factional bias. Then one of Yi's henchwomen kills Pan, and Yi then expresses her trust that the remaining crowd members are all Redemptionists. Yi identifies Wang Mayo in the crowd, introducing him to the group. She mentions that the Lord's primary objective is to eradicate nanomaterials, the technology Wang specializes in. In a state of shock, Wang listens as he begins to unravel the rest of the story of Red Coast Base. Chapter 22, Red Coast 5. Back in 1970, fully committed to Red Coast Base's mission, Yi Wenji works tirelessly to mitigate the solar outages interfering with the base's monitoring operations. Although her efforts yield little success, she discovers a peculiar pattern. The sun's radio activity occasionally halts, rendering its surface entirely calm. Unable to explain this phenomenon, Yi is nonetheless captivated. Yi frequents the base library, often late at night, valuing the access it provides to an array of foreign books. One night, she finds a journal article that discusses two instances of intense electromagnetic radiation on Jupiter. Noting the familiar dates, she checks them against the Red Coast Operations Diary and makes a startling discovery. Each Jupiter flare is followed 16 minutes and 42 seconds later by a corresponding flare on Earth. He deduces that the sun is behaving as a mirror and amplifier for radio waves, essentially functioning as a super antenna. This suggests that with the use of the sun, a powerful radio transmitter like the one at Red Coast Base could send radio signals beyond the current limitations of humanity as a Type 1 civilization. He faces bureaucratic hurdles to test her hypothesis, including the need to access scientific files from the US, and the skepticism of Commissar Lay, who worries about potential political symbolism of directing a super-powerful radio beam at the sun. Despite these challenges, Yi is undeterred and continues to press forward. In the fall of 1971, Yi seizes an opportunity to test her idea independently. While her colleagues are either leaving for the day or taking breaks, she transmits a signal to the sun at maximum power. However, when no signal returns after 20 minutes, Yi is crushed and retires to the edge of Radar Peak, crying as she eats her cold leftovers. Unbeknownst to Yi, the signal she had set was already crossing Jupiter's orbit. Her tears of disappointment were premature, as she would later discover that she had successfully sent a message into space. If you've traveled with me this far into the video, I'd be thrilled if you'd consider giving me a pat on the back with the like button. But if this journey didn't quite do it for you, don't fret, maybe our next adventure will. Subscribing is your passport to join me as we explore more exciting chapters in the vast landscape of books. Help shape the future by leaving a comment with book recommendations for chapter summaries or feedback to enhance the channel.